Sen, are you going for it? She looked at Hansen with hidden excitement. He felt even Hansen's opponent was Lai Yufeng. Han would still win. Although she had never seen Lai Yufeng play, he believed so. Hansen's performance so far made him think that Han must be almost invincible in this game. Lu Meng and Zhang Yang were also looking at Hansen, awaiting his decision. Of course I will, Hansen said casually. Jai Yanren was the girlfriend he won with a bet. Although he was too busy to look for her, he would not allow other guys to use himself to impress her. In the Hansen's view, it was fine if Lai tried to show off in front of Jai Yanren. But there was no way Hansen would allow himself to be used in the process. Hearing Hansen's answer, she and Lu were both thrilled. Zhang Yang rubbed his hands together and said, now that's it. Young people should be motivated, and we all support you to defeat Lai Yufeng and make Jai Yanren your girlfriend for real. Right? If you really have such a gorgeous girlfriend, the entire room 304 would all feel honored, said she excitedly. People thought Jai Yanren's boyfriend was too scared to reply. But today, seeing his reply and the ID name, a student was in shock. Having rubbed his eyes and confirmed several times, he started to spread the news. Haha. Jai Yanren's boyfriend replied directly with the time of the duel. We have something to watch. I think Jai Yanren's boyfriend is definitely stronger. That is hard to say. After all, Lai Yufeng is a professional player, and the best on campus. He also had good performance in the contest across the alliance. How do you know that Jai Yanren's boyfriend is not professional? That makes sense. No one knows who Jai Yanren's boyfriend is, so he could be a professional player as well. Yanren, your boyfriend appeared. Jai Yanren paused and bristled. I said 1,000,000 times that he is not my boyfriend, so do not call him that. Yanren, I envy you that there are two great guys fighting for you, making you quite the princess. Lily said admiringly. You can have them both if you want, Jai Yanren said sullenly. She did not really like Lai Yufeng, but Lai had been chasing after her for 2 years. She was quite upset by his pursuit. As for my girlfriend is Jai Yanren. He was using such a devious means that Jai Yanren had even less interest in him. But Jai Yanren was still a little curious and wanted to find out who that person was. As soon as she watched that person play, she should be able to tell who he was from his style. Unless he was not one of the players on campus, she would have an idea. At 10:30 at night, the BattleNet had a historical number of students online. Many of those who did not play this game even registered new accounts to watch this duel. Jai Yanren was also watching. When she saw Lai Yufeng had a game room set up, she entered the room. In fact, 80% of those online were in this game room to wait for them to start. At 10:30, everyone suddenly saw a notification. My girlfriend is Jai Yanren entered the room. Haha, finally. The crowd was overjoyed. Jai Yanren threw an angry gaze at the ID and vowed to find him. Zhang Yang, Lu Meng and she were not online, but standing next to Hansen watching his holographic image directly, which was more interesting than viewing it online. Seeing that ID, coldness flashed in Lai's eyes. He simply sent an invite and texted, after you lose, I want you to get rid of this ID immediately, and apologize to Jai Yanren. Everyone was staring at the screen, wondering what my girlfriend is Jai Yanren would say to that. It is too easy to beat you, so no strings attached this time. Just leave my Yanren alone in the future. Seeing this line from my girlfriend is Jai Yanren, the screen was full in an instant. It begins. Seeing the countdown end, the light spots lit up on both sides. Lai Yufeng's fingers danced like a snake and almost hit a spot the moment it lit up. Because he did not really know his opponent's style, and this guy had won Lai Z by 20 points. Lai Yufeng played safe and chose to clear up his own side and gain points as fast as he could, so as to beat his opponent in a dignified way. Lai Yufeng was playing very well and he was quite satisfied with how he performed. With a glance, he saw his opponent also hitting a spot at a speed no lower than his, which made him pause. In the momentary pause, his opponent went for another spot. Lai Yufeng quickly calmed himself down and hit his second spot as fast as he could. Knowing his opponent's speed, Lai Yufeng did not dare to be distracted again and played with his best speed and skills. The two players' hands were like two butterflies dancing away, hitting all the light spots around them at an amazing speed. The game room was silent. In a room where more than 10,000 people were watching, none typed anything. Everyone was staring at their screen. It was not because the duel was so wonderful, but because it was not at all. A person's speed had been completely overwhelmed by the other person. Lai Yufeng's hand had a speed and flexibility that were amazing to begin with. But in front of the other hand, Lai Yufeng's hand suddenly looked a bit clumsy. And this feeling was just incredible, because this was Lai Yufeng, the best player on campus. Slender but strong, this was an attractive hand. In addition to that, people could not tell anything else from the image, how they wanted to see the owner of the hand. But in Hand of God, all they could see was the hand and wrist. There was no way they could tell who he was. Total silence. Although the result was clear, many refused to believe that Lai Yufeng would be beaten like this. That was Lai Yufeng. Lai Yufeng concentrated on his hand and raised its speed to his limit, constantly hitting the spots. At least I will beat him by 5 points, Lai Yufeng thought proudly. He knew Jai Yanren was certainly watching this game. Lai Yufeng was hitting the spots with all he had, thinking that if he went faster and raised the difference to 6 or 7 points, then the effect might be even better. But when Lai Yufeng was reaching for a spot again, all spots suddenly disappeared. He turned his eyes and looked at his opponent's score. 100 points. Lai Yufeng could not move. He could not believe that he had been beaten by 20 points. He could not believe this, nor could anyone who knew Lai Yufeng and his skills at this game. Everyone looked blankly at that score, and no one made a sound. What Hansen said just now was interesting when they were thinking back. It is too easy to beat you, so no strings attached this time. Just leave my Yanren alone in the future. At that time, they all felt it was pure insolence. But now thinking back, it was just honesty. Another 20, Lai Zi snapped to attention and said with a wry smile. His remark reminded Liu Qi and Wang Long, making their shocking expression even more twisted. Their mouths were so wide open that they could fit a big duck egg. This number was so familiar, and what it represented was even more shocking. Yanren, your boyfriend is so fierce. Lily just recovered from surprise and said to Jai Yanren, who was still staring at the score. Who is this person? Jai Yanren had now forgotten about her anger and shame, and simply wanted to find out who he was. 20 points. Whoever could beat Lai Yufeng by 20 was absolutely top 10 in the alliance. After logging out of the game, she had contacted a lot of friends, wanting to find out who that person was. However, almost everyone she called would tell her with a trace of gloating, "You have to ask yourself who your boyfriend is." "How do I know who my boyfriend is?" Jai Yanren blurted out after hearing that reply a lot of times, feeling she was out of her mind after she realized what she had said. The four went to the nearest cafeteria, ordered a few dishes and chatted over drinks. While eating, she suddenly lowered his voice and said to the rest, glancing in one direction, "There is a babe over there, the innocent kind. So pretty. And the other two with her are not bad either. We don't trust your taste." Lu Meng laughed. Hansen and Zhang Yang also laughed. They had all witnessed Xi's judgment. A tough lady 6 feet tall was a little beauty in his eyes. But you could not blame him either, as he was too tall himself indeed. Really, though, the babe looked at me and smiled at me. "Here she comes." She flushed. His roommates then felt a bit surprised. It looked like someone really was approaching them. They turned to look and saw an innocent, sweet girl with a great body walking toward them. It looked like she was a freshman like themselves. "Brother Han." Under the excited gaze of she walked to Hansen and called in a sweet voice, making she want to kill Hansen. "Mingmeng, why are you here?" Hansen recognized Wang Mingmeng. "I came to eat with my classmates and did not expect to meet you here. Let me introduce them. These are my classmates and roommates, Lai Zhenjin and Wang Chun." Wang Mingmeng introduced the two girls following her to Hansen. "Hello." Hansen shook hands with the two girls and introduced his 3 roommates. "Since we are all friends now, shall we sit together?" She pulled the chairs and invited the girls. "Well, we happen to have something to ask." Wang Mingmeng blushed and said, "What's the matter? We will do anything for you," promised she. Wang Chun looked at she and seemed very happy. "It would be great if you could help. We are looking for people to join our society. Have you already registered at some societies? If not, can you join us?" "Well, we did not register yet, so you have come to the right people. With us, your society will do so well." "Right, which society are you talking about?" she quickly said, making faces to his roommates to ask them to play along. Judging from the 3 girls' looks, it was easy to tell that the society they were in must have lots of babes. "We are with Heavy Warframe Society," said Wang Chun. She almost choked on the water he just drank. Warframe Society was considered a temple of monks, where members were almost all guys. And Heavy Warframe Society would be Shaolin Temple among all temples, where girls were probably nowhere to be seen. The guys had not expected the girls to be members of Heavy Warframe Society. The reason why Heavy Warframe Society was independent from Warframe Society was that Heavy Warframes were much bigger in size than average Warframes and were much harder to operate. Ordinary soldiers did not need to use heavy warframes, and 99.99% of those who operated heavy warframes were male. She was dumbfounded, but he could not take back his words, so they all had to go. The next morning, Wang Mingmeng sent a text to invite the four of them to fill in the application form at Heavy Warframe Society. Fortunately, there were three beautiful girls, Wang Mingmeng, Wang Chun and Lai Zhenjin. Therefore they thought Heavy Warframe Society would not be so unbearable. But when they arrived at Heavy Warframe Society, they found out that it was even worse than they thought. In addition to Wang Mingmeng, Wang Chun and Lai Zhenjin, the Heavy Warframe Society had only two returning students, a fat guy and a skinny guy. There were barely any guys, let alone girls. The fat guy was the president of Heavy Warframe Society, and the skinny guy was the only returning member. Hansen and his roommates failed to memorize their names because the girls only referred to them by their nickname, Fatty and Skinny. Fatty was smiling ear to ear when he saw Wang Mingmeng taking 4 new members to register. But his face collapsed when he found out they were from Department of Archery. Since there was a special enrollment program for archery students, the requirement of fitness index was lowered for them. Normally speaking, one would have to reach 11 in fitness index to be admitted, but archery students only needed to reach 10 as long as they passed their archery test. The difference of 1 point was a big gap, so archery students might be the weakest in the history of Blackhawk. The operation of heavy warframes required one to have great physique, so Fatty and Skinny were very disappointed when they learned that all 4 were from Department of Archery. Wang Mingmeng was very happy to show Hansen around. Mingmeng, this is not right. Why do you call us by names, but call Sen brother? We are all freshmen and he is 3rd oldest among us, only a dozen days older than Lu Meng, she said solemnly. Wang Mingmeng thought about it seriously, tilted her head and said, I think only Brother Han looks like a brother to me. How come we don't? Shu was not convinced, squared his shoulder, made a pose like a bodybuilding model. It does not depend on age or body size. Wang Mingmeng did not care about Shu's muscles. She was speechless, but he had to accept the fact that she would only call Hansen brother. Lai Zhenjin and Wang Chun soon followed suit. When they came to the training field, the 4 guys were all shocked. They thought that Heavy Warframe Society had so few members that their training field must be small and shabby, and did not expect there to be any heavy warframes. Instead, they had expected to train on a holographic simulator. But their training field turned out to be a large warehouse, with huge space and 3 real heavy warframes, each over 10 meters tall and looking domineering. How about these? Mingmen has negotiated for these, Wang Chun said proudly. Hansen suddenly realized why a society with few members could have such a training field. It was because of Wang Mingmeng. But it made Hansen very excited, as he had been studying warframe operation. But the performance of the warframe for practice was wanting and people had to take turns to use it. Although these are heavy warframes, they were warframes nonetheless. He did not have to wait to practice on a warframe in the future. Room 304 happily joined the Heavy Warframe Society, while everyone else in the school was looking for Jai Yanren's boyfriend madly, especially Zhao Lianhua, who was pressured by Liu Jiangguo to find him. However, no one knew who Jai Yanren's boyfriend was, not to mention where he was. In Principal's office, Luo Xiangyang looked at Principal Y and complained, "This is nonsense. How could you give the 7th warehouse to Heavy Warframe Society as their training ground? And the 3 heavy warframes are totally beyond the abilities of those students. What if there is an accident? Luo, you have to look at the specific circumstances. Those are good students and that's why I gave them a relaxed training environment," Y said slowly. "More like rich and powerful students," Luo Xiangyang said with some disdain. "You should know that the school has its own difficulties. Luo, you need to get rid of this temper of yours," said Y earnestly. Luo Xiangyang's face was still gloomy. He said, "I do not care what privileges they have. I can give them the warehouse, but the 3 heavy warframes can't be wasted like this. I must get them back." Luo left, disregarding Principal Y's calling him. Y shook his head and sighed. A nasty temper indeed. He thought about it and let it go. That young lady would not touch those heavy warframes anyway, so there should be no problem that Luo were to take them away. When Luo Xiangyang came to the 7th warehouse, he saw Builder was driven by someone, doing a lot of strange moves on the training ground. The reason that the moves seemed strange was that Builder was holding a thick and long alloy tube in each of its 4 hands, wielding the tubes as swords like a human. Because Builder itself was too cumbersome and had 4 arms, its actions looked very odd. Luo Xiangyang looked at it and was slightly surprised. Anyone able to drive Builder like this must have reached the level of an evolver. Which teacher or coach in the school is driving Builder? Luo Xiangyang could not think of any student, as an unevolved person could hardly achieve this speed. After watching for a while, Luo Xiangyang started to have a craving. He used to be a heavy warframe soldier and operate heavy warframes as combat warframes for fun. After he entered the school, he did not have heavy warframes to play with and few knew how to operate heavy warframes, so he had no one to spar with either. When he saw someone using a heavy warframe to mimic a combat warframe, his craving was evoked. Seeing Porter RS parked on the other side, Luo Xiangyang went directly into its cockpit and activated it using his coach authorization. Hansen was practicing driving Builder because it was the closest to an ordinary combat warframe. Suddenly, Hansen saw a shadow coming toward him from the holographic image. With his strong reflexes, he immediately operated Builder to raise one of the tubes it was grabbing to block that shadow. Clank! A loud clanking of metals rang and Hansen saw that it was Porter RS that had attacked him using its 30 feet long multifunction wrench. And on Porter RS's other arm, the cutter was turned on and waved toward him. Hansen did not have any time to consider who was driving Porter's RS, but had to block it with another tube in Builder's hand. The alloy tube was cut off by the cutter instantly, and the fearsome blade spinning at a high speed was approaching Builder. Shocked, Hansen pushed the speed of his hands to the limit, manipulating Builder to step back and avoided the swing from Porter RS. Good, Luo Xiangyang exclaimed in excitement, controlling the Porter RS to launch crazy attacks against Builder. The giant wrench, cutter, drill bits, hooks and other tools all became terrifying weapons with his control. Luo Xiangyang took his opponent for a veteran, because he believed no one could use Builder like this otherwise. An unevolved person could never achieve this level. Hansen was a bit dumbfounded and did not know who was driving Porter RS. This person had better operation and speed than Hansen as well. Even when Hansen was trying with all he had, he still could not make any progress and was about to be defeated. Hansen did not want to accept this failure and used what he learned from Hand of God, raising the speed of his hand to level Evolved 4. Suddenly he became the incarnation of the Thousand-Hand Buddha, completing various complex operations at dazzling speed. Luo Xiangyang felt his opponent was a bit weaker in the beginning, and thought maybe this guy was probably just a low-level heavy warframe soldier. Also, it seemed this guy had not operated a heavy warframe in a long time and was obviously a bit rusty. But soon, Luo Xiangyang found the guy became so much better that it was like Builder had become alive. Flexible and swift, it was more like a combat warframe and a heavy one. Luo Xiangyang was ecstatic. It was so rare that he encountered such an opponent. Using all he had, he was on the same level as his opponent. Then Luo Xiangyang found that this guy was also rapidly improving. When fighting with Luo, this guy's operation was more and more accurate, which again convinced Luo that this was a retired heavy warframe soldier like himself. Awesome! Luo Xiangyang had not been so happy in a long time. If he had to describe, he would have said the ordinary combat warframes were like women, and heavy warframes were like men. The domineering feeling, the clanking of the wrench and alloy tubes, and the pressure his body was under, all brought Luo's blood to a boil, reminding him of the days when he was in the army. The two large-scale heavy warframes were constantly colliding into each other and the sounds kept echoing in the warehouse. Hansen did not know who he was fighting, but felt much pressure. Even when he was using all he got, he was still completely overwhelmed. His opponent was so much better than him in technique and Hansen had learned a lot. Hansen did not expect that the person he was fighting would be the coach of Warframe Society, and a veteran in heavy warframe operation. Hansen had no hard feelings, but was quite excited about a fight like this, because he could learn so much more from it than when he practiced alone. Having been fighting for an hour, Hansen was unable to handle the physical stress brought by the fight and came out of the warframe. He was soaked in his own sweat. Operating a heavy warframe like Builder could stress one out easily, and it was impressive that Hansen had been operating it for such a long time. Luo Xiangyang felt a bit unsatisfied, but did not insist when seeing his opponent had stopped. He came out of the cockpit and wanted to meet this person. Since they were both veterans, they could communicate and fight again later. But he was stunned when he saw the man coming out of Builder. He always thought that this guy must be a veteran, but the person coming out of Builder was a fair-skinned young man of no more than 17 years of age. "You are a student?" Luo Xiangyang asked. "Hello, I am Hansen. I have just entered the Heavy Warframe Society. Are you also in our society? I have never met you. Your skills are amazing. Could you teach me when you have time?" Hansen said with a smile. "You just entered the Heavy Warframe Society. You are a freshman." Luo Xiangyang could not believe that he was just sparring with a freshman. "Yes, I joined our society 7 or 8 days ago," replied Hansen. "Have you ever driven a heavy warframe before?" "No. Before I was using the training warframes at school to practice and only had the opportunity to use a heavy warframe after I joined the society." It is much harder than using a training warframe and I have not made much progress. You on the other hand are so much better. I had to shapeshift using a beast soul to hang in there, explained Hansen. What is your department? How did you join the Heavy Warframe Society? Luo Xiangyang believed if he could poach this guy and get him to join Warframe Society instead, then Warframe Society could probably be in the top 10. No, top 5 in the Alliance. I am in the Department of Archery and a friend introduced me to join our society, Hansen said. Archery department. Luo Xiangyang regretted so much that he had never looked into that department full of specially enrolled students. Had he looked, he would have never let a talent go somewhere like Heavy Warframe Society. When Luo Xiangyang was thinking about how to persuade Hansen to quit Heavy Warframe Society and join Warframe Society, Han's comlink rang. Hansen only thought Luo Xiangyang was a senior, so he answered the call. Brother, I need to run now. Let's have another go next time. Hansen hung up and said, waving to Luo. Not having had the time to start his persuasion before Hansen took off, Luo thought to himself, anyway, now that I know who he is, I can always come back later. Looking at the 3 heavy warframes, Luo Xiangyang did not intend to move them away anymore. Since Hansen was still here, he will let Han use them and move these warframes when Han transferred to Warframe Society. His roommates asked him to bring them some snacks and Hansen was also hungry himself after his warframe fight. When he arrived at the place, he was surprised to see there was only 1 bottle of juice left and quickly swiped to pay for it. But when he finished the payment and was reaching for the bottle of juice, another hand grabbed the bottle. Hansen quickly looked up and saw that person looking back at him. You. The two called out almost at the same time. Hansen saw the sweet face in front of him and was slightly surprised, not expecting to see Jai Yanran here. Apparently, Jai Yanran was also surprised to see him. She frowned and asked, why are you here? I am a Blackhawk student and have, of course, come here to eat. Hansen replied. Didn't think you would be admitted. Jai Yanran curled her lips and looked at Hansen's hand on the bottle. Let go. You are the one who should let go. I paid first, said Hansen. Jai Yanran gave him a glance full of disdain. Your pickup line is too old. Let go, or I will yell. What do you mean by pickup line? Why do I need that? Have you seen anyone using a pickup line on his girlfriend? I did not expect that a cheater could actually be admitted to Blackhawk. Has the school lowered its standards? Jai Yanran thought as she walked and made no connection between Hansen and my girlfriend as Jai Yanran. In her mind, Hansen was a cheater and nowhere near a master. If you really have what it takes, we could have a match on the professional holographic training machine tomorrow, Jai Yanran said confidently. Well, give me your comlink number. I'll contact you tomorrow, Hansen smiled and said. Jai Yanran rolled her eyes. Don't try to get my number. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, I will wait for you in building E16 room 138. Well, I will go. Wait to become my girlfriend. Hansen laughed. Jai Yanran did not talk to him again and walked away. The next afternoon, when Hansen was ready to go, King Xuan suddenly gave him an order to go back to Steel Armor Shelter for an important task. Although he would like to inform Jai Yanran, she did not tell him her number, so he had no way to do it. Jai Yanran went there at 3 o'clock and waited, but saw no one there. She was even more convinced that he was a cheater. Hansen came back after 2 days, and there was still no way to contact Jai Yanran. He did not worry about it too much and continued to study according to his own plan. Everyone, I have something to say. Fatty cleared his throat and said, holding a stack of paper in his hand. President, we can hear you, replied she as he was training on a holographic machine. Other people were also doing their own thing. Feeling helpless, Fatty said, in a few days, Starry Cup will begin and as a society of Warframe, we must register for some Warframe items. Let's see which ones we should go for. You are the president. You decide. Lu Meng had nothing to contribute. What is in it for the champion? Hansen pondered and asked. Skinny quickly said, of course. The prize depends on the item and all top 3 will get something. Of course, the champion's prize is the best. Let's register for all then. Hansen heard there were so many awards paid by Starry Group and decided to try. Will this work? Our society has so few people, and almost all of us are freshmen. Would it look too bad if we lost in everything? Lai Zhenjin said with some concern. It does not matter. With Brother Han here, we will not lose. Wang Mingmeng had blind trust in Hansen. When Luo Xiangyang arrived at the Heavy Warframe Society, the society members just decided on their application in the upcoming Starry Cup. Hansen, Luo Xiangyang walked into the 7th warehouse and called. Brother, you just came. Hansen got up and greeted Luo. Who is this man? Wai Zhenjin felt puzzled and asked. Other people also looked at Hansen. Apparently, they did not know who he was either. However, Fatty and Skinny were surprised because they knew who Luo Xiangyang was, the coach of Warframe Society. But they did not understand why Hansen called him brother. Isn't he a member here? Hansen hesitated. He never asked anyone about this and assumed that Luo was a member student. Hearing the words of Hansen, Fatty and Skinny almost choked. Luo was a coach at Warframe Society. How could he be a student? Luo Xiangyang smiled and patted Hansen on the shoulder. Hansen, your Warframe operations skills are great. Are you interested in joining the Warframe Society? Oh, I forgot to tell you that I am the coach at Warframe Society, and I promise you will be able to get the best training. Use the best training equipment in school, and get the best guidance. Luo Xiangyang's words shocked everyone but Wang Mingmeng. They could not imagine that a coach of Warframe Society would personally invite Hansen to join them. Warframe Society and Martial Arts Society were the two most popular societies. Many talented students took the initiative to join them each year, and these two societies never needed to recruit any members. Fatty and Skinny had their mouths wide open but could not make a sound. They were familiar with Luo, because the only reason they were here was that they had failed to enter the Warframe Society in the first place. I am sorry, Coach Luo, but I have joined the Heavy Warframe Society already, Hansen declined. The reason Hansen had promised to join Heavy Warframe Society was twofold. First, he did it for Wang Mingmeng. Second, he valued the freedom here. He could come and go as he wanted and did not need to worry about anything. This way he could take tasks as he wanted any time or go to God's sanctuary to hunt. He would not quite like it if he had to practice on a warframe every single day. Luo Xiangyang did not give up and continued to persuade him. With your talent and ability, it would be a waste if you stayed here. Give me 2 or 3 years and I can get you into the top 3 in the entire alliance. The championship is not impossible either, which is exactly my goal. The rest were dumbfounded and regarded Hansen, since they had never seen anything special about him that deserved these words from Luo. Sorry, Coach Luo, I cannot take your offer, Hansen once again refused. Do not rush to refuse. Think about it. If you become a champion in the Warframe contest in the Alliance during your study, your final rating will be a lot higher. Luo Xiangyang added, I will also try my best to give you the best rating possible. When you figure it out, you can come to me at Warframe Society. I will always welcome you to join. After Luo Xiangyang left, the rest were still staring at Hansen. Coach Luo offered you such conditions, and you actually refused him. His roommates were not too surprised. With Hansen's skill in Hand of God, he could beat Lai Yufeng by 20 points. Had he joined Hand of God Society, he could have gotten the extra points a long time ago. Why would he wait for Luo Xiangyang to invite him? I said that we would be great in the contest with Brother Han here. Now do you believe me? Wang Mingmeng said proudly. Fatty thought of Starry Cup and became thrilled. With Hansen, whom Luo Xiangyang had invited personally in their society, maybe Heavy Warframe Society could get somewhere this time. That will be all for now. I hope you find this story interesting. Leave a like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you won't miss the next part of this story. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.